to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.net. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. As always, thanks for joining us. Now, as you listen to the show, I really do hope you feel my passion about changing your perspective on change in general. And by incorporating the little changes and little strategies and tips and ideas that my guests and I share with you, I really hope that you take this information, apply it in your life, in your business, in your career, and hopefully it helps you move the needle to more abundance, more growth, more whatever you're looking for. Now, to help you on this journey, I do have an all-star community. Actually, my guest is part of that community today. Great people. We get together, we strategize, we talk about everything business and career related. If you're interested, the link is in the show notes. Come and play. I'd love to see you. We meet twice a month. A lot of fun, great people, and it's all about growth. So come and join us. Now, my motivational quote today is by Ayn Rand, and Ayn says, "Money is only a tool. It will take you wherever you wish, but will not replace you as the driver." So money is one of my favorite things or favorite topics to talk about because all of us have, wait for it, money issues. We have beliefs around money from our own experiences through our own personal life from childhood to wherever you are now, as well as beliefs that have been handed down by parents, teachers, family members, etc. And I believe we all desire happiness, healthy relationships, and financial freedom, right? Now, for many, our financial blueprint is not in alignment with the success we want to actually create in our life. Now, by understanding our own energy bodies through chakra work and discovering unconscious beliefs, fears, patterns, and by knowing our own unique money archetypes, which is what we're going to talk about today, my guest today uses these tools to help us shift from a very disempowered perspective to making choices to empowered and positive money relationships. So who's my guest? She's the amazing Janet Key. And Janet is a soulful money coach who empowers women seeking financial freedom. Now, Janet found happiness in all areas of her life except for money. Now, with a background in yoga and finances, she was intuitively led to take her relationship with money to a deeper level. She explored her own money mindset and discovered deep-rooted beliefs of not being enough, which stemmed from her own poverty upbringing. Now, Janet's mission is to inspire women and men to heal money relationships and to embody abundance by living their soul highest potential. So please help me welcome my good friend and amazing guest, Janet, to the show. So Janet, thanks for being on.
Oh, you're welcome, Connie. Thank you. I'm excited to be here and have this conversation with you today and share with your listeners.
Yes. And at the end, we're going to give you a free gift because, you know, I love giving gifts away. And we're going to talk about the gift you're getting is kind of what we're going to talk about today. So I do highly recommend you either connect with Janet via email, which I'll share at the end, or taking her free gift, mind-blowing information. Okay. So first question, Janet, let's talk about, I use the word archetype to money in the intro, right? So what are the sacred money archetypes? And you can certainly use me because you got my results from the test as well, whatever you need. But let's talk about what are the sacred money archetypes?
Sacred money archetypes are a tool that you can learn to learn more about yourself in your relationship with money. Archetypes are here to help you live life more in alignment. So what are your gifts? What are your strengths, but also what are your challenges? So when it comes to our money relationship, to grow and expand, it's leaning into your gifts, leaning into your strengths in those moments when you're feeling fear or scarcity, recognizing the moments when you're operating from your shadow side of self or those self-limiting beliefs of self, so that you are able to move through it and expand in, here's your mindset, but also in your beliefs, but in the actions that you take in life. The archetypes are here to help you to live life more in alignment, as I said, which is more being in integrity with yourself in how you use your money. So a lot of people going around in life disconnected from their relationship with money. They're using it in ways that are not in service of them. It's not connected to their values. So by understanding, well, what are my values? What is important to me? Becoming more mindful and conscious about where you're giving your energy, where you're giving your money, then that shifts your relationship with money. And archetypes are a fabulous tool to help you discover more about yourself. And there are 8 different archetypes. I did take a training from Kendall Summer Hawk to learn more about archetypes. And there's 8 different ones. You were the ruler and the accumulator, as well as the maverick. The ruler is someone who has a desire to achieve success. They're here to be a role model for that. They're here to build an empire where everyone thrives. So I am that archetype as well, so I can relate to it. So some of the places where this archetype can be out of alignment is not indulging in life in the moment, allowing business to dominate most of your time and attention. That overstriving, that overworking, because of a belief of like not enoughness might be in there. For this particular archetype, knowing that, well, I am a visionary, I am disciplined, I want to build an empire where everyone thrives, I'm innovative and creative. Those are the strength sides, right? So knowing both those sides, when I'm out of alignment, recognizing it, and I can get back into alignment more quicker than, I don't know if you've ever experienced a time in life, I know I did, when my periods of struggle used to be much greater. Now my periods of struggle are much, much less because I have the tools to move through them. So archetypes help to identify when you're out of alignment, how to get in alignment with your money relationship.
And it was funny because as you were describing that, that is me. That is totally me. And I'm constantly thinking about business, which is dangerous because you have to shut your brain off, right? You have to have other interests other than work. And that's a tough one for me. I had a tie, that one, and the Maverick, I think was my other one, the Maverick, the highest.
Yeah. Yeah. So your maverick and your accumulator. The accumulator is here to illuminate respect and appreciation. And it's also to understand the power of you by like investing in you and understanding the power of money. And I'm going to say that we often think in life that money has the power. In life, we live in a world where we see money and wealth as being the dominating factor. I'm going to switch it to the power. It's the power that is within us that we can be open to, that higher intelligence, that spiritual, that intuitive side of self, being connected to that power in creating your vision or living out what it is that you feel called to do. The maverick is, you march to the beat of your own drum. Taking risk is essential. And you're here to be a role model for that and balancing the risk with the financial security. So there's a number of different interesting elements to teach you more about yourself and that self-awareness and the emotional mastery piece. And the tie, so sometimes there is a tie, and identifying simply which order to put that in. When we work with archetypes, we're working with the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
You want to just know who is the top 3 that you're going to work with. And it all has to do about what do you need to lean into more to create financial freedom for yourself. And financial freedom is more about the inner freedom, right? The freedom from the beliefs, the insecurities, the limitations, the not enoughness. Those are that. Now, when I talk about archetypes, we have the qualities of all archetypes. We have them all. We focus on working with the top 3. I mean, that's enough to focus on, but knowing yourself, when we know thyself, we're also able to be a witness for others as well. So, and there's that oneness when we accept and love all parts of self. Well, we become more whole of self, right? If that makes sense.
It does. And I love it because, I watched all the videos as well for the order of the 8, came in a certain order with a score. And I watched all of them. And it was fascinating because I could easily see the strengths, but I could easily see that flip side, that shadow side of, I don't turn off. Yeah, I'm always in business mode. I was at a conference in September, and I was talking to one of the gentlemen who organized the entire thing. We were chatting at a cocktail hour, and his son is venturing out on his own business, and he was telling me what he was doing. And of course, you know, me, Jen, right? I'm like, well, he struck me. I know so many business owners that, and he's trying to get them to understand balance sheets and stuff like that, more of the financials, right? And I said, so many of my clients, my small business owners that I talk to, they don't understand how to look and measure you know, the profitability versus the cost and all of those things. So I think he's a definite needed resource. And then he was telling me, and it's terrible. I mean, yes, we're at a business conference, right? This was a networking thing as I had my glass of wine in hand, but I was giggling because then he was telling me his daughter-in-law is home with the kids. She's an attorney. I said, you know, there's so many online businesses now that need her help that we don't know what is the policies and procedures or what is the terms of use and what is the privacy policies. And there's so many templates out there, but how do I know it's going to work for my business? And he looked at me and he goes, oh my God. I said, have her call me too. I said, I promise I'll help. Kyle is the son's name, but I'll help your daughter-in-law too. I said, I'll give him each an hour. So we were giggling, but and he looked at me and I go, I know. I see business for everybody, but for myself. That's see, but I'm always on, and that's not good because you do need to turn off and relax and rejuvenate, right? The brain. Especially business just comes, you know, easy. Again, not for myself, everybody, but seeing business opportunities for others or career opportunities for others, it's just a zone of genius. But that's not a good thing to always be on, right?
Yeah, well, you want to build an empire where everyone thrives. So, you know, you're in alignment there, and you are innovative and you are creative in that, right? So your brain is on, and at the same time, you could miss the indulging in enjoying in the moment. So this is where a lot of rulers are like, when will I get there? Right? People are like, when will I get there? Because you're always in that striving, that work mode, that enjoying life in the moment. That's where today, you know, I'm more in flow because I'm more connected to me and I can enjoy all aspects of me and I'm open to other opportunities because wealth is more than about the money aspects. It's in relationships, it's in time with family, it's in, you know, that quiet time for self when you need it. And you know, that ruler that is always the business is dominating the mind. It can lead to burnout or some self-sabotage or that, right? That I'm not, you know, it can sabotage the wellness of self at times.
Definitely. And it's funny because self-care is one of my biggest issues. And I know it, you know, sometimes at night, and it's funny because, you know, well, after dinner, I'd say to my husband, I think I'm going to take an Epsom salt bath, put a little lavender in. I think I need to unplug. And then the next thing you know, time has gone on. And he goes, I thought you were going to take a bath. I go, yeah, I had other things to do. I forego, and it sounds ridiculous, like take a bath, get in the bath. What's the big deal? But I'll forego it because something else will jump in line before that. And then before I know it, it's like, I'm ready for bed. I'm not going to take the bath now. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about, being out of alignment. And it's everybody listening. It's so easy to get out of alignment when, especially if there's financial stress or there's stress at work or there's stress within the family. It really throws the teeter-totter, the balance, right? That balance, you know, the scales of justice, if you will, they go right. They're immediately, they're shifting out of balance, which isn't good. Yeah. Another question, the chakras, right? How can understanding our chakras help us heal the money wounds, you know, working with the archetypes? Because I think everybody knows what the chakras are.
Yeah, absolutely. So here is our energy body and our root chakra. And as I say this, you'll think about it in relationship to money. Okay. So here's our energy body, and chakras are our energy centers. Our root chakra, this is our right to be here, our right to have, it's our family, it's our tribe, it's the, you know, I am enough, it is safe to be me. So oftentimes when we have trauma in life experiences when we were younger, whether it's in life or money experiences, that's where that I am not enoughness comes into play, right? I had been placed for adoption 2 times before the age of 1 in my life, the first 7 days when I was born in the world. I grew up in an environment where my dad had a mental illness, and I grew up in a lot of violence and addiction and abuse. I grew up with that inner sense of never feeling enough, and love was not expressed easily in my household. So that my foundation was interrupted in those first years of life. Moving up into the sacral chakra, this is our feelings. This is our I deserve. This is our procreation, creation. So when you imagine if you're feeling I am not enough, or a common area for a lot of women in money, and men too, I see it, is guilt, right? I feel guilt around it. I feel shame around it. So these emotions usually will come into, even beliefs about self and what you think you are. If you are not feeling worthy, or you don't see the value in who you are, it'll show up in money conversations. You can possibly overgive is one thing, or have be very challenged in talking about investing in your business with your partner, or even having money conversations with your partner. And we know that money is a big cause of divorce in relationships. Moving up into our sacral chakra, this is our center of power, our purpose, our will. So there's my will, and then there's the divine will, right? Our intuitiveness. We hear our intuition oftentimes, but we don't often listen to it because we doubt, or we question, or we simply don't trust it enough, right? The what could have will over us. So who else has authority over us? Whether it's our negative thinking about money, is it a love-hate relationship? Is it positive or negative? Where am I? What else could have authority over us? Well, our partner. If we don't approve of ourselves, we might look for approval from someone else, right? In our family or in our peers. Approving of self is very important for self-esteem, which is the solar plexus. And how do we take back our powers? By being aware of it. So that's when I talk about the archetypes, the gifts and the strengths, and then the challenges. That's how we take back our power, right? And money is a mirror for us to see where we give away our power, where we don't see our enlightened net worth, our value, and our worth. Moving up into the heart chakra. This is our inner nurturer. This is where we give and receive unconditionally. Now, when there's block in yoga, we know that the heart is the bridge between the lower and the higher chakras. When we have root issues in those lower chakras, we'll block that heart energy of either giving or receiving. Oftentimes, we're great givers, but not so good at receiving, or you're great giving, like, that dynamics come into play. Someone who has rigid boundaries could easily have blockages in the heart chakra energy, because the rigid boundaries is, I had a negative experience in life, and in order to protect myself from a negative experience happening again, I'm going to put up this wall, this rigid boundary. Now, that doesn't always make for an easy life. When it comes to having flexible boundaries, this fosters a healthy sense of self-esteem. This means I can say yes, and I can also say no. I'm not easily manipulated. So think about that in business. How many times have you said yes to something when you really wanted to say no? Then it goes to a place of guilt, a place of shame, maybe repeatedly, right? So again, those are elements where we're leaking energy within ourselves. Going up into the throat chakra, this is our communication. I easily and effortlessly speak my truth. So think of having money conversations with your partner, money conversations with your client, or if someone hasn't paid you for your services, how comfortable and confident are you about having those conversations? Or do you hold back, not speak up, not speak out? Going up into our third eye, this is our inner wisdom and trusting it. And oftentimes we know, but we don't trust it. Oftentimes what I hear from women is, I don't know what I want. Well, I don't know what I want. I don't see a vision because maybe I have some root chakra like imbalances. So I don't see what I want for myself. Maybe somebody else has more authority over me. So I don't see what I want for myself, or not having that confidence to take action towards something new, or take a risk. The crown chakra is being connected to our higher power, that spiritual element, the divine. Well, when we clear in those lower chakras, when we are open in the heart, we are more able to be in flow, which is receiving that information. Sometimes we could be too far in the future. Sometimes we're too far in the past, right? And we're always creating. And where are we creating from? From a place of past experiences, of fear, of negativity, or now, today, I'm in a place of alignment. I'm here to ask. I can receive, have patience for the answer to come, divine timing,
Mm, mm.
and then move forward from there. So being in alignment and being a clear vessel opens up those channels for you to receive and trust what you are receiving, and then take inspired action because you have the courage and the self-esteem and the confidence, because you know, I am enough, I am safe, I deserve, I am worthy, right? So does that make sense? How can you see how the chakras connect to the money relationship?
I do. And the archetypes provide even more clarity. So as you were speaking, when you got to the heart chakra, that was fascinating for me because I do love giving. You know me, right? You've met me, you're in my community. I am very generous. I love the people in my orbit. You matter to me. So if somebody turns and says, hey, Con, I want to help you with this, oftentimes I'll be like, oh, that's not necessary. It's very hard for me to receive, very hard when someone says, oh, I can help you with that. No, I got it. Like I feel, I'm getting better at this, Janet. I know I'm surprising you. I love this. If you have to go watch the YouTube, her eyes just got really big. Like what kind of very hard for me to receive. Yes, very hard.
Yeah,
I'm working on that. I am working on
yeah,
that because people are generous back. And I feel that, oh, I'm a burden. They're
yeah,
busy too, but
yeah,
they want to help me. So why would I say no? So that's interesting. And the
yeah,
other thing, I was giggling, the divine. I am very aware of it. I'm aware of the chakras, right? I do chakra. I have people that do chakra work with me locally, with pendulums and all this other stuff. And I remember when I did an angel reading, my angels have a very good sense of humor because I think I have a good sense of humor. So the people who do these readings for me, Deanne Roudreau is one of my favorites. She's in Canada, and she just laughs because she'll say, so I'm going to tell you what your angels are telling you. And they're mocking you a little bit, again, because they have this very good sense of humor. And they said that I'm very open. I understand the divine. I understand the chart, right? I understand all of these universal laws. And the information will come in my ear, get to about halfway through my brain. And I'm like, yes. And then I go, but wait a minute. What about this? What about this? And my egoic mind takes
yeah,
over, and then it pushes it back out the ear. So
yeah,
never makes it through. So
yeah,
I giggle because my angels, they mock me. And I say that with love. They do it lovingly. So
yeah,
that's another thing. I have to allow the divine to come all the way through and not question, because I have a very logical brain, right? It's like, but what if,
yeah,
and what about, what
absolutely.
can I do? That
Yeah,
action. I'm all about the action. And sometimes it's the receiving that's important.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And here's connecting the heart and the mind too, right? And opening those channels. And if you can recognize, well, where does that come from? Like I'm actually blocking the receiving channels. Where does that come from? What story, what experience in life that came from?
Interesting, right? It's
Yeah,
fascinating.
it
And
is.
here's the other thing, Janet, right? That I was fascinated by the archetypes because it's just another tool to really shine that light on what our superpowers are and what our natural strengths are that we can lean into, right? But then, like you said before, we have that shadow side. We all do with every aspect of our life. So you have to really be able to honestly shine the light on the shadow side, because that, I think, is where the magic starts happening, where we can identify, address it, minimize it, work through it, if you will, so that now we can truly lean on our strengths. So those blind spots become very insignificant, but it's effort. We peel back the human layer, the onion, so to speak. We each have our own layers of the onion. There's a lot of depth there. And, your childhood was not a pleasant one. So working through all of that anguish and angst and learning and feelings that a child felt, it's really important, but it's not easy to do unless you have the tools to be able to do that, right? And all these tools
Absolutely.
that we're talking about today are just another way to peel back the onion, to understand and lean into what I need to do to change, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what is enlightenment, right? Enlightenment is bringing light into the darkness, into those dark parts of self. And
Yeah.
being conscious in your money relationship is being more self-aware, being aware of not just the mind, but the emotional aspect of it. And I always like to say that our emotions around money will teach us how free we really are.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, the emotions around money will teach us how free we really are.
I flew right from Dallas to New Jersey, and I was listening to it's called Author's Notes. It's just a download from this guy. He reads these books and then he gives you the highlights so that you could kind of learn the key pieces. And it was about Abraham Hicks.
Mhm.
There's two, whatever the names were, it doesn't matter. It was ironic because as I'm listening, I'm very anxious on a plane just because they're a little close for me. I'm big, I'm 5'11", right? So it's a little claustrophobic. And I pay extra for the seats with the extra leg room because I need it just for my own sanity. But it was so funny. I put it on as we were taking off. And the first thing he said is, we forget all the miracles in life and we focus on the negative. So next time you fly, I tuned into that. I'm like, okay, he's really talking to me right now. Like, why did I pick this author's note to put into my iPod, my AirPods, whatever the heck they're called? And I thought, let me listen to this. Fascinating. Flying, claustrophobic, I'm tight. I get the air circulation's not enough for me. I had the mask on again because of COVID, and I was feeling confined and constricted. And then he said, next time you're on the plane and you feel confined and constricted, I was like, wow, he's really talking to me today. He said, think about you're in a plane, 35,000 feet up in the air, sitting down, moving from destination A to destination B in hours, not days or weeks like it used to take, and that you'll be home before nightfall, right? Or whatever. He says, but think of the miracle of every step of that versus the claustrophobicness or whatever. And can I tell you, I thought that is true. How blessed am I? I'm sitting down and flying and I'll be home in 2.5 hours. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of sends you into that, here's some strengths or here's some gifts about this, right? And it
That's right.
opened up your awareness and then you felt better, right? It's like letting go in the mind,
Yes.
just opening up those pathways and it's like, now that feels better.
Yes. See, and I do believe that was the divine. You were saying the divine. I know, obviously I don't think anybody saw me. Literally, I giggled to myself and I thought, all right, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. You're telling me to chillax, right? And enjoy the flight. And right, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
receiving. So in my own mind, I was
Awesome.
giggling. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
giggling the whole time thinking, I clearly picked this one for a reason.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you see? I know you deal mostly with women, but what are the challenges you see as it relates to business and career that probably there's patterns there, I would think, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I do work mostly with women and I will share. I had a recent experience with several men as I taught a yoga at a yoga festival.
Yeah.
And um, this man, he came from this transcendental dance and he was all, the energy was so empowering. He came into my class and he sat down and his energy, when we started to talk about money, just dropped. He said he felt so heavy. He later came and expressed to me, now he is an entrepreneur. He expressed to me, I feel so much shame in my money relationship. He said, I feel like I haven't done enough to support my family. I feel fear in what it is I feel I'm being called to do. And will I be able to make it a success? Right. So already, here's the feelings around money. And I'll just draw from that conversation because there were artists in the room. One artist, she sat down to do the assessment and she said, I feel so much resistance right now. And she said, and I struggle with money in my business. I struggle with making money in my business. It's easier for me to give my stuff away versus asking for a fee for my service.
Mm.
So these are some guilt for women. Guilt is a huge one, right? Stepping away from their family and building a business, doing what they want to do, feeling guilty about taking the time for themselves, even adding in self-care in their business, having conversations with their partner. I have this business owner, she's been in business for 5 years. When she stepped out to do that business 5 years ago, her husband, the first year, he said, no, wait another year. The second year, she said, no, I'm ready. I'm going into business. She went into business against his what he wanted of her. she instantly started to resent that. She resented him. This resentment was actually a saboteur.
Mhm.
It prevented her from growing and moving forward in her business. Now, she survived at 5 years, and then at 5 years, she's like, "I really wanna do better. I need to make more profit to survive in my business."
Sure.
As we started to do this work, she was able to uncover those unconscious patterns, those unconscious fears that she's responsible for her business, not her husband, but that resentment created a block for her. When she removed that block, things opened up for her amazingly, not only in her business, but in other areas of her life, right? Because there's that saying, how we do money is how we do everything.
Yes.
So it created a huge shift just recognizing uh, in business what resentment can do, what guilt can do, what shame can do, right? Those are emotions that we want to transcend. We want to see that they are there. Most people, when we feel fear, what do most people want to do when fear shows up?
Run the other way.
They want to run, right? But we know. How many times have you heard, the rewards is on the other side of the fear, right? You break through your upper limits, as Gay Hendricks talks about, and your internal glass money ceiling. In order to move through those, you have to face the fears, those emotions, not avoid them, not avoid. Here's another thing for a lot of women is being dependent on someone else for your financial resources or for other things in life. It's a risk. It is a risk. And ask any woman who has been through a divorce that it is a risk to do that. But when you look at, I am responsible for my mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, financial well being. And if I'm going to risk by putting my hands and my security into someone else, well, that's a risk. And especially if the relationship's unstable, or I feel fear in this relationship, or I'm not stable in this relationship. So the foundation of I am enoughness, the foundation of building a business is key in having, and you kind of, the rulers are great because they just jump in and I'll figure things out as I go along the way. And the maverick can also be so willing to take all the risks that they can jeopardize their financial security. And this is where the gifts of the maverick in paying attention to the ups and the downs of the numbers, the financial complexities, like those are gifts that are that come easy for the maverick, but if they avoid it, now they go into the shadow side. So you can see like um, all of the ways that we can navigate through those lower parts of self, those self-limiting parts, those fear parts, and how we can transcend them by being aware of them and become more successful within ourselves, within our personal relationships, in our money relationships, in our business, right? We begin to create our life more on our terms.
And you talk about the relationship, the spouse for this woman, put it off, right? Fear. There's probably fear on his end, fear on her end because of that unknown where you don't have that paycheck anymore, right? It is a tremendous leap of faith for sure. And I know my husband, he has been my rock where he has never ever said to me, there were lean years starting out where I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Where do you find the client? All of those pieces of the puzzle. Then we had kids and you have the expensive kids. And at the end of the day, it was, you're doing great, right? You're on the right path. I was able to be active in the school with my kids, go to their practices. I never missed a game. If I was in corporate as an executive, because that was the trajectory of where I left kind of, and I never would have been home. It would have been all about work and not about family. And so finding that balance, but I had him saying, you've got this. Look at the blessings of you're in the school all the time. Like the janitor thought I was a teacher. I'm like, no, I'm a mom. I volunteer. How do you do that? I go, well, I own my own business. I work at night and weekends. Like I fit it in, right? You fit it in. So but they're choices that you have to make. But I have to tell you, the fear creeps in when you don't have that paycheck coming in, or where is that next client coming from? And all of that unknown. So if you don't have a partner that's like, look, it's a lull. You got this. Keep doing what you're doing. You know what to do. I can see where she was like, oh, should I go back and get a job? Right. Those questioning of uncertainty because you're taking on someone else's fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can attest to, I went through a divorce last year, and my husband and I, we definitely had a different money blueprint. And while his comfort zone was for me to go back to a banking role, that was not. I felt like this was my calling intuitively. I was meant to do this, and
Yes.
that money was a factor of why our marriage ended. And now, while I was willing to go there and have deeper conversations, but when the other partner is not willing, then you have that division, right? So
Yeah.
here's a division of once that was a good, healthy, happy marriage for a period of time. And but when that support wasn't there, now luckily I was driven enough in myself and had built, I was secure in who I was at that point and
Yeah.
approved of who I am. And I did entertain the idea of retreating back to a job. I actually did for 4 days. And so for 4 days, stepping into that banking role in between of doing this business, I knew within me that it wasn't right for me. I was not meant to be there in that space of time. When I step back into doing this, what I do, of course, I'm inspired. I'm the work that I do. I'm very passionate and serious about. So that was in alignment for me. Just because it wasn't in alignment for him, that's okay.
Yes.
But that was a separation because of different beliefs of what we were comfortable with, what we both wanted, and that support men and women. Like it's important to have open, respectful
Yeah.
conversations, and how can we help one another grow
Yeah.
versus like the control or the possessiveness that would come in. And that's more ego, that's more shadow side of self versus the spiritual, the love side of self, right?
Yeah, and again, it's that fear-based response. Some of us can deal with or move through fear easier for whatever reason, and the archetypes, I think, help that. We're out of time, but
Yeah.
guys, you have to connect with Janet. Brilliant. The archetype, the quiz we're going to give you is just mind-blowing. It will all be in the show notes. But if you want to email Janet directly, you have some questions after listening, go to prosperous and then the number 4 women. So prosperous for women at gmail.com. The website is janetkey.com. And then the free video link is your sacred money archetype. And again, I'll put that link. It's a little bit longer link. I'll just put that in the show notes for you. Do you want to say anything else, Janet, before we close today's conversation? Because this is important stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When you take the assessment, notice how you feel. Notice what comes up when you answer the questions.
Mm.
Go with your first instinct, when you answer the questions, and, have fun exploring. Enter in with a sense of curiosity and see what comes up for you. And you're responsible for your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial well-being. So this is an important aspect of life. So
Yeah,
enjoy, have
take
fun.
it, enjoy it, and see, that's the thing. Like, take it seriously. No, enjoy it, have fun, be open and
Yeah.
curious to the results, and then take one little thing that maybe you can implement to change or pay attention to, right? Change is inevitable, like change is here, man, right? We can't avoid it, but how we show up, the tools we use to respond to it really do matter. And here's just it's fun. Janet has videos that you watch, and as you're listening, take notes, because you're like, like, gotta watch that one. So again, it just be open, be curious, and don't judge. I think that's the other piece of it. You can't judge self, learn about it and say, how can I approach this from a better frame of reference or a better mindset, really, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Get to know your enlightened net worth.
Absolutely, 100%. Janet, thank you so much. Thanks for being you. Thanks for the work you're doing. And I know everybody is going to enjoy the archetype, getting those videos from you, et cetera. So thank you so much for sharing
You're
so
welcome.
freely. It's
My pleasure.
you're doing amazing things. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together. No matter what change you're going through, I truly believe that between my guests and I, our stories, I really do share personal stuff so that people think, oh, she feels that way too. It's that element of not being alone, right? That I must be the only one feeling this. And then my guests, when they share their zone of genius and their resources, lean into it, take advantage of them. All of these free gifts are to help you on your journey of change. Information is a beautiful thing. Do nothing with it. It's simply information. take the archetype test today, or whenever you have a moment, breathe, make sure you have a moment to do it so you're not rushing through it, and get some of those results. Shine a light on your strengths, but also shine the light on those blind spots and shadow sides of yourself. Janet, thank you again. Thank you for joining me on Enlightenment of Change through webtalkradio.net. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. As always, I am so inspired by all of you when you tune in weekly to hear the show. And I'm honored that you're on this journey of change with me, and that you trust my guests and I to help you move the needle on whatever change you're going through. I love you all. Please have an inspired week filled with joy and love. And I'll see you all next week. Have a great one, everybody. And thanks again, Janet. Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you.